So we're good, right? We can call it quits now after whatever that was against the Florida Panthers tonight. Because I think as a fan base, we've already reached it. I think we probably reached that point when we look back to the stumble after the amazing stretch from December 23rd for that couple week period where they were amazing. And then it kind of just fell apart again, where you got back to a playoff spot. You sat in a playoff position for the first time since basically like opening day of the season. And then you sat there with that playoff spot and immediately threw up all over yourself. Like from the second that you got into a playoff spot and fought your way back and got yourself into some type of position to make any kind of push here this season or any kind of recovery, it just immediately became a full-blown puke fest. Like a full-blown puke fest for this Maple Leafs team from that point on. Obviously, some of that was coinciding with William Nylander's injury, and I understand that. But at the same time here, like, this is just not good enough from this group over the last little while. And it obviously goes beyond the players. It's roster construction, it's coaching decisions, and we'll dig into all of that here tonight on the postgame show for Game 59 of the regular season here as the Toronto Maple Leafs lose this one to the Florida Panthers. But I think that's got to be it. Like, that is the end of all of this. You have to go, you have to look at it and recognize where you are at, and not just the fact that you're out of it points-wise and standings-wise, but how you play. Like, you're not just getting poor results for the sake of it. You're not. You're getting poor results because of the construction, some of the guys that are here, and the coaching. Again, a lot to dig into on this one here tonight, and I apologize if the internet on this one is not good for people. I see some people there pointing out we are lagging a little bit, it seems. So if that's the case, I apologize. It looks like the stream going like most places other than YouTube seems to be fine. So I don't know if there's a way to fix this in real time. I'll see what I can do about it, but stream is choppy and laggy. I see. Hold on. Let's see if we can maybe do something on the fly here and see if there's any way to fix this. Well, let's see if we can get somebody on the line who might have an idea on what to do here, and if not, then I don't know. We're gonna have to deal with it. But in the meantime, we'll continue on while we wait for producer extraordinaire, producer Vic, to jump on. Vic, we are live on the postgame show right now. Do you have any idea how I can fix in real time the disaster I'm dealing with my connection to YouTube, and only YouTube that is having this problem? Do you have any idea?
I'll come check.
Okay, he says he's going to check. Okay, thank you, Vic. Appreciate that. So we'll see if Vic's able to help, but as of right now, we'll just continue on with the post-game show until we can figure this out, or if Vic's able to jump on here and give us any kind of idea on how to fix this one. But yes, we are streaming from a hotel in Brantford right now, so we're battling through on the internet situation at this point. Apologies, everybody, for this. There's just literally nothing I can do. This is out of my hands. This is the most that I can get to us here on the post game as of this second. Potentially, Vic will be able to offer us a fix, but if not, I'm not sure. Anyways. Let's start with obviously roster construction and what you're getting out of this. And I'll relate this as much as I can to the game tonight, and we'll bring it back to that. You can see it very clearly in this. And I don't think it's fair to put blame in this. I'm not saying that they were great in this game, but I don't think it's fair to put blame on guys like Auston Matthews and William Nylander. Could they have been better? Yes. But again, I think this goes to who has been put around them in some of these situations. You look at that first line, it's very evident in a game like tonight when I look across at Matthews and McMahon and Domi. That is not a group or a combination that should be rolled out there as your first line regularly. That is not a combination that I want to be looking at going over the boards over and over and over again, playing with my $13 million forward. I understand the idea that Auston Matthews being paid what he is at $13 million is a guy who should be able to elevate his line mates and should be able to bring them up and should be able to kind of carry a line, and I think he's done a pretty good job of it. But unfortunately, I think one of the issues we're dealing with here is the guys he's surrounded by, he's got to lift them up so much. He has to lift up Max Domi and Bobby McMahon to a degree that is insurmountable for him to then be an effective player on his own. He is effectively playing, for the most part in the defensive zone especially, without a winger on one side in Max Domi. He is atrocious in his own zone. He's a good playmaker. He's a good guy to ride shotgun with Matthews on the offensive side of things. But then the counterpunch on the opposite side of Bobby McMahon is not enough to outweigh the negatives that Max Domi can bring to you at times. It's just ridiculous to watch that balance over and over again. And I'm not trying to absolve Matthews of play. He can be better, but I think one thing that is making me or giving me pause in all of it is just realizing the line that he's dealing with. How many times are you watching soft plays by Max Domi? Plays where Bobby McMahon is just not capable because he just doesn't have the skill set to get a puck and retrieve a puck and get it to Auston Matthews. And part of it is probably them playing out of where they should be in the lineup, but that then goes again to the guys above them. Craig Berube for putting McMahon and Domi in those positions. And then it goes to Brad Treliving for not having enough options that those are the guys you have to put there. Domi and McMahon are the pieces that you have to play alongside, alongside Auston Matthews. That is not good enough. That is not a good enough mix of players to be putting with your number one superstar centerman. And I know there's going to be a lot of people who want to look at the Mitch Marner loss and pinpoint it on that. It is a piece of back onto YouTube. Okay, I think that worked. I think we're back on YouTube. So as I was saying about the roster construction, that is just one part of it. That's one piece of the puzzle when it comes to who Auston Matthews is playing with, and that's just the beginning of it. That's just the top end. One of the other major flaws that you've ended up with here is when you look down to the centers and the center position that you've done a pretty decent job of filling out your bottom six to be a better group. But, I look at John Tavares, you're expecting him or hoping for him to be able to fill in that second line role at a much cheaper cap hit. And while he started off strong, there needed to be an understanding, and this goes beyond John Tavares, that these guys got older. these guys aged. You look at a guy like JT, he's now 35 years old. He's dealing with a lot of hockey in a short period of time, and he's being relied upon to be a guy who's going to help carry that load of the second line, a line of which had William Nylander in and out of the lineup for the first time in his career. You put Matias Maccelli in, you're trying to figure that out. And then all of a sudden you're saying, hey, JT, at 35, can you carry this line? At 35, can you be a guy who's going to step up and elevate to take on that role and to carry this team through? And that's too big of an ask. And to kind of continue on that point about what you've now done to John Tavares and asking him to step up in that role, or expecting him to continue to build off of what he was doing last season and in the age that he's at, you've done that with the defensive core you had here as well. I look at guys like Jake McCabe, struggling right now. Chris Tanev couldn't stay healthy, out of the lineup here again. That's not great, and part of that is because Chris Tanev is a guy who deals with injuries anyways, but part of that is because he's older. He's an older player. Ekman-Larsson, I think, is a little bit of an anomaly here, but you've done the same thing with him, and I think that kind of goes into the trade conversation with him, where it's like, okay, Ekman-Larsson is 30 what is he? 34 right now. He's got a couple of years left on this deal. It worked out this year, but what are you going to do? You're going to hang on. I love Dakota Joshua, and I think that when healthy, he's a guy who can be impactful. He's a guy who can help you out, especially play a bottom six role. Obviously, this game tonight wasn't one where I watched Dakota Joshua's play and was overly impressed with anything he did in this one, but that said, comes back to your lineup. You're like, okay, that's great. Let's see what you can do. Easton Cowan remains out of the lineup. This is a young kid on a team that does not have youth, does not have speed, does not have this young skill, do not have these up-and-coming players coming through the lineup, and you're sitting him yet again. Like, if the whole point was, hey, we're going to hold him out of the game last night, we'll get him into the game against Florida, and we'll work our way through this. Don't love it, but okay, we can figure this out. I can understand this. You're going to sit the guy in the press box yet again. And what frustrates me even more, which I've already made my thoughts on the whole Easton Cowan thing pretty clear, and just to reiterate in case people weren't sure or didn't hear or whatever, I'm not going to yell and scream that Easton Cowan needs to be in the lineup in general, especially considering the way this season has gone, but Easton Cowan either needs to be in your lineup or playing in the AHL. I'm not happy at all about the fact that Easton Cowan is with the NHL club and is sitting in the press box eating popcorn. What the fuck kind of asset management is that? Like, how do you look at yourself and how do you look at these young kids and say this is the proper way to develop them, make them comfortable, help recruit other young kids to play here, college free agents, OHL free agents? How do you look at those guys, and how do you see a guy like Easton Cowan and see the treatment and think this is what other guys will want to be a part of? How do you look at this and think that Easton Cowan or his agent have any interest in remaining a part of this? Like, how is that something that you can logically look at given the way this season is going and think, yeah, this makes sense? It's unbelievably frustrating. Unbelievably frustrating to have this team treat their young guys and their assets this way. And this goes beyond Easton Cowan. I think a lot more in the more recent regime, and I think part of it was because they were blinded by the fact that they were trying to win, needed to win, whatever, and were like, we can't afford to be developing young guys. In a sense, I can understand that, because you're just saying, we got to put these guys out there. We got to work through this. We got to be going. We got to be going with the guys we know, the guys we trust. Let's roll through with that. Your season is gone. Give the kids a shot. You've had young guys that you didn't give opportunities to, never let them become any type of NHL player. And a lot of them have walked. Some of them, their development was just shot. Some of them had to return to their teams in Europe. It's just... It's abysmal. And, I pin this on Craig Berube and the management because Craig Berube comes out today and effectively says, and now I'm paraphrasing, but yeah, this is something where we got to get him in there. He's got to get in there. You're the fucking coach. We saw this same situation take place with Rick Tocchet, and I believe it was actually about Nikita Grabenkin earlier, where he came out and said, we got to get him in there. We got to get him more ice time. You're the coach. You set the lineup. You decide that. You're the guy who's in control of that. Look yourself in the mirror. So Vic has been the one helping out to say, explain what's going on right now with the YouTube. If you are watching on YouTube, I apologize. Apparently it's super laggy, and Vic's saying it has nothing to do with my internet. This is something to do with YouTube. So I'm going to pin the chat, turn on notifications so you don't miss anything here on the Leafs Nation 401 YouTube channel. Obviously, we'll be doing the post-game show breakdown here, continuing on tonight, and continue to break down what we just saw in Game 59 on the Maple Leafs loss to the Florida Panthers 5-1. A pathetic loss that this should be like white flag. Full-blown white flag for what this season is. Because we know that this team was waiting to see what happened, waiting to see if they would be able to make a push for the playoffs and get themselves back on track. You just struck out on your first 2 games back from the Olympic break in pathetic fashion. Like, I'm talking pathetic fashion here in these 2 games. That game against Tampa Bay last night could have been fucking 7-0 by the end of it. And I know the Leafs did score 2 goals, but two offside challenges that are successful for the Maple Leafs video team, and it gives you life that they just didn't grab onto. Like, they were thrown a lifeline in that game against Tampa Bay last night to be like, here, you've kind of played like shit. The Lightning have dominated you. This will help. And they just said, we don't want it. They looked at the lifeline, spat on the lifeline, and said, fuck your lifeline. We're not going to battle out of this thing. We're not going to battle out of it. Charles Saul, my guy, in the chat, take solace in the fact you stopped the Panthers from getting McKenna, Zach. Yeah, well, I think the Panthers are a smart enough organization that if they want to get Gavin McKenna, they'll find a way to get themselves into a lottery contention, because They could shut down Marchand. They can shut down Kachuk. I would love to be able to take solace in that fact, Charles, but it's not the case. Again, I don't think that this team is bad enough to finish in the bottom 5. And I think that's the problem that you end up with. And the show for me right now at this point in the year, and maybe this is sad and dark to say, but the approach for me is like, I've accepted the fact that this isn't the year. I've accepted the fact that they're not a playoff team this season. And all you got to do now is kind of just start to get yourself ready for the future. Like, sell off assets. Get picks back. Open up roster spots. Open up cap space. Be a team that's capable of doing some damage in the summer. Do what the Boston Bruins did. Guys want Carlo? Okay, trade Brandon Carlo. Guys want Jake McCabe? Okay, trade Jake McCabe. Guys want Ekman Larson? Trade Ekman Larson. Guys want Nick Waugh, Lawton, McMahon, Domi, Michelli? Trade them. Stolars? Trade them. Trade them. Trade them. I'm not saying that because I hate the guys and want them the fuck out of here. I'm saying that because that's the right thing to do. That's the responsible thing to do as an organization. You're not bad enough to get in the bottom 5, but you are not a contender. What happens if you hang on to your guys and you get in the playoffs? What happens if you keep these guys and you go on a miracle run? You're not good enough to win a Stanley Cup. And I know I'm kind of all over the place now, but it's just like working through this in real time, recognizing what the team is and what the options are. You're kind of just weighing this out. Let's say you pull off a miracle. What do you have? 23 games remaining on the season. I think Gord said and MJ said on the broadcast tonight before going into this game, you had 24 games left and you needed to win 18 of your last 24. You just lost one. You got 23 left. Are you going to go 18-5 to finish this season? I would legitimately put a 0.5% chance. 1% is too high. 1% is too high. If the organization is putting these memos out and letting people know that how we might sign McMahon, we don't know if we want to get rid of the guy, this is a guy we want to keep here going forward. If they're doing that to build up some kind of market for the players, if they're building up this battle to get him because they want to make it like, if you want the guy, you really got to go get him. You really got to take him off our hands. Okay, sure. I hope that works, but okay. The problem with this organization is I don't trust that that's the reality. We all know the situation that we're dealing with MLSE and the contract that Rogers just signed on this TV deal. And I know that this is a hockey talk show, a hockey conversation show, but unfortunately, that is a piece of the puzzle. There are financial implications for the Toronto Maple Leafs missing the playoffs that go beyond just what happens with MLSE. I did Oilers Nation every day with Tyler and Liam not too long ago, and we talked about it, and they talked about the idea of trading off of guys. And I told them one of my concerns was the fact that MLSE does not want to miss playoffs because it means Rogers misses money, not from just the playoff ticket revenue, but from the actual TV deals. How many Canadians do you think tune in to watch playoffs if the Maple Leafs and other Canadian hockey markets are not in it? Look around the league this year. Vancouver, missing. Calgary, missing. Leafs, missing. Ottawa, missing. Montreal, I'm going to say they're going to get in. Edmonton, going to get in. Winnipeg, missing. But even like Montreal is not invincible from a collapse. And I'm not predicting that that would happen. But you are a 2-week stretch for the Montreal Canadiens of falling apart, or the Edmonton Oilers for that matter, of having 1 or 0 teams in the playoffs. I don't think that will be the case. I think both of them will get in, but that is something that's looming. And MLSE is going to look at it and be frustrated that they're going to miss the playoffs and lose out on that money when they've just signed this massive TV deal. It scares me that they're not going to take the right steps as an organization to do what's right hockey-wise. Because I think these guys are putting financials ahead of competitiveness. I think these guys are looking at it and going, if we patchwork this thing together and you think McMahon is a piece who can help us, you like Domi, you like Ekman Larson, let's keep him. Eating money on contracts? No. Let's not do that. Why would we pay guys to not be here? It scares me they're not going to take the proper steps that need to be taken. One of which I would say is firing Craig Berube and the coaching staff. I look at the deployments of players. I look at the development of the young guys that you have. I look at the lack of trust between young players and the Toronto Marlies and the coaching staff and the management here. And it scares the fucking shit out of me that if you even go into a retool to close out this season and you're going to have to bring up kids from the Marlies, what their usage will look like. It scares the shit out of me that Craig Berube might look at it and say, I'm still going to play Austin Matthews 25 fucking minutes a night. It's time for this organization to be more cutthroat. The Vegas Golden Knights are deemed as one of the most cutthroat, if not the most cutthroat organizations in the NHL. Marc-Andre Fleury, beloved by the fan base, gone. We all know the image of the sword being pulled from his back. Doesn't matter. Gone. Stabbed into his back, Gone. Riley Smith won a Stanley Cup. Gone. Teams win Stanley Cups and move off of important pieces because they recognize what they have to do to improve for the next season, or that a guy is getting older, or that a guy's contract may not reach that value the next season. And the Toronto Maple Leafs just refuse to acknowledge that in a season in which they lost in the second round. Yeah, Mitch Marner left, but it wasn't their choice. It wasn't their doing. You needed to be more cutthroat. And now more than ever is a time where this organization needs to flex that muscle and start to do that and start to move in the right direction. No more playing it safe. No more keeping guys around just because you like them and the fans like them and all that stuff. Matthews, Nylander, Nyes, yeah, sure. Obviously pieces you want to keep here. Cowan, you want to keep. If St. Louis calls me and they say that they want Joseph Woll and picks and some other prospect for Robert Thomas, done. Second line center, drastically improves your team, puts you in a better spot going forward. Be cutthroat. If they call and they want Matthew Nyes, I ask what the rest of the package looks like, but it's not a hang-up. If a number one defenseman becomes available in the summer, and it's going to cost you something important, but it's a number one defenseman, that's when you get cutthroat. But you need assets to do that. And it starts here at this deadline. And it starts here with the Maple Leafs waving the white flag and recognizing this team's not good enough. The coaching staff is not good enough. This season is a write-off. And in a vacuum, that's not good. You want to compete every year. You want to make the playoffs every year. I, as a fan, even more so than somebody who's now covering this team as a media member, if you want to call me that, want this team to make the playoffs because it's fun. I love the Maple Leafs. I love Maple Leaf hockey. I love playoff hockey. I know a lot of people in the chat throw accusations that I like when the team fails and loses games. That's not true. I fucking love this team. But the right thing for them to do right now is to take a step back and recognize that for long-term and even potentially short-term in regards to next season, which would even be like, it's like a short-term, but you got to put a little effort to throw the rock to get it that far because it's not right here. The best thing to do is recoup assets and get yourself set up for the future. You still have Austin Matthews for 2 more years. You still have William Nylander signed for a little bit. You still have Matthew Nyes under contract. Those are extremely important pieces that you want here to be a part of your organization if you're going to be competing, especially within the next couple of years. Maybe that's not realistic, but that's something that you have to consider in this. And if that's the case and you want to compete with these guys, you need to start to take drastic action around them. And I'm not talking about Fraser Minton and a first-round pick to get fucking Brandon Carlo. I'm talking about winning trades. And I'm talking about getting real difference makers. For far too long, at deadlines especially, this team has lost trades. Probably coming from desperation. Probably coming from a lack of experience, as we saw with Kyle Dubas, and even Brendan Shanahan to that extent, because he was basically an executive as long as Kyle Dubas was there as well, and the two of them were running that operation together. You need to start winning trades. Like, I watched this game here tonight, and it's time to make changes. Jake McCabe, another bad night. This has been 2 months of bad hockey from Jake McCabe. Maybe it's a sell low spot on him. I get it. But he's also an older player. You're not getting rid of a 27-year-old and being like, well, he's had a bad couple of months here. Let's get rid of the guy. You're getting rid of a guy who's at the, I don't even want to say at the back nine of his career. You'd be getting rid of a guy who's potentially looking, standing at the tee on 17. Can you get assets back? Go. Get the assets. In the summer, This is not going to be a trade deadline move. I can't see it playing out that way, but in the summer, Morgan Riley, another bad night. An atrocious play by him, and it's not even the first time he's done that exact thing, which is nearly impossible to accomplish. It's not even the first time he's done that in the last month. Falls, takes out Brandon Carlo, and gives up a wide open opportunity. Now, mind you, it gets called off because it's offside, but regardless, misread by Riley, overcommit across to one side, fall, take out Brandon Carlo, open up a lane, 2-0 for the Panthers, goal. He's struggling. Maybe some of it is because of just him not being that good. Maybe some of it is because he's thinking too much and he's in his own head. But you got to be cutthroat here. He's making over $7 million. He's your highest paid defenseman. When I look at the roster between a healthy Chris Tanev, Oliver Ekman-Larsson, throw in probably even Jake McCabe, even struggling the way he is right now, and Troy Stecher, I'm putting them ahead of him. I am. Troy Stecher was a fucking waiver pickup, and it's no disrespect to him, but it's a guy who's a waiver pickup that we're talking about being ahead of your highest paid defenseman, and it's not just this season. I think some of it might have to do with the deployment and the systems that are being run here, why Morgan Riley can't find a way to fit into this thing. But still, I think even when things are going well for him, they're not going well enough for what his AAV is. They're not going well enough for what that cap hit is and what he should be bringing you for what he's paid. It's time for a reset. This was one of the most pathetic games of the season, and it comes in one that, I mean, they said on the panel before the game, specifically Jeff O'Neill, it's a must-win. It was a must-win. If you were going to make the playoffs, it was a must-win. And not only did you lose the game, you did it in pathetic fashion. You got your fucking shit pumped. On the second night of a back-to-back, sure. But it was a shit pumping. There was a lack of urgency. There was a lack of attention to detail. There was a lack of execution. There was a lack of intensity. It took far too long for the Maple Leafs to wake up in this one and get anything going. Far too long. Maybe they've quit on the coach. Maybe they've quit on each other. Maybe they've quit on the season. But it is a complete and utter disaster. It is a calamity of errors, as our guy Jay Rosehill so eloquently put it on the sheet yesterday. A calamity of errors. Thank you to producer Vic and Nick Caroli for helping us get everything cleaned up here tonight. We are rocking. Everything is smooth. Everything is operating well here now. So thank you to them for helping out. We're going to test this thing out a little bit here. If you guys want to call into the show, you want to give your thoughts on tonight's game, you want to let me know how you feel, you want to let Leafs Nation know how you feel, I put the link to call in the chat. We'll give this a test. If it's not going to work, if it's not going to be good, we'll shut it down and I'll just continue on with the rest of the show myself. But again, I mean, Call-in link is pinned to the top of the chat, so you want to call in and give your thoughts. It is there. It took me a little while to say this and announce this or talk about this, whatever, but our Super Chat charity partner this season, as always, is Sick Kids Charity. Proceeds from our Super Chats go to Sick Kids Charity. You want to get your question, your comment, your concern, your thoughts, your feelings. I don't give a shit what it is. You want to let people know on this stream how it is that you're feeling or what you're thinking. Send in those super chats. I want to hear all of them. I want to know how Leafs Nation is feeling about this game here tonight and this season from the Toronto Maple Leafs. You want to click that $, send in the amount that you want to send, and then type in your message. I will answer and read all of the super chats, including these two that we have here from our guy, Tom Robbins. Tom says, I think the players brought in this year didn't gel, although we didn't change a lot, but 2 to 3 players do make a difference. What D-man do we get next year if we trade most? The free agent market is weak and the GM does not make trades. Well, I mean, I think this is the point where you start to check and see what you have internally. What do you have in William Villeneuve? What do you have in Thrun? What can those guys bring to the table? Okay. Can they play? I'm not saying they're difference makers, but can they be NHL players? We don't know right now. We don't. Can they be guys who can play? Let's find that out. And then you start to look to free agent market. And then you also start to get creative, guys. You have pro scouts for a reason. You have amateur scouts for a reason. You know what else you have? Tradable assets at this deadline that can allow you to recoup the cupboards. And if you were an intelligent organization, you leverage the players you have to bring back young guys on opposing teams. I look at what a team like the Pittsburgh Penguins just did in acquiring a guy like Sam Girard. Young, mobile, puck-moving defenseman. Not a huge cap hit, got a little bit of term left, but they made a hockey trade that worked out for both sides. For those who don't know, the Pittsburgh Penguins traded Brett Kulak in exchange for Sam Girard and a 2028 second-round pick. I don't know that you get that exact deal back, but that's the kind of stuff you have to start looking for. We will give you something that opens up your cap space, and in exchange, you will give us back pieces that change the makeup and the construction of our team. That's the way you have to look at this. Because I know that the free agent pool, it's not stellar. It's not anything that's going to really blow you away and make a difference. And Darren Radish scares me. I love the player, but I feel like he's a guy who's going to get paid this summer. He's going to get given some big ticket. And it's not going to fit the same because he's not playing in the same system under the same coach. And he's probably just having a career year. So are you going to pay him for that career year? That scares me. You need to get creative elsewhere. The Maple Leafs are the biggest proponent of trading for a guy or signing a guy coming off of a contract year or after he's already shown you what he can be. You need to start finding the guys before they become that. You need to be like the Washington Capitals who go out and get a Jacob Chikrin when things hadn't gone so well in his stint in Ottawa. When the Senators are like, I don't know, and he didn't know about Ottawa. You're looking to move on. Make hockey trades. It's time to make hockey trades. All right, let's test this out. Let's get to our first caller of the night here. Let's welcome to the program our guy, Alex A. Alex, what's up, buddy?
Hey, I'm doing all right. How about yourself, Zach?
I'm doing okay. I mean, I think for the betterment of the team, the organization, whatever, it's best if they just lose and you get yourself into a position where you are forced as an organization to have to sell off because the results weren't there. I think we all know, given the way that they were playing, that it was going to be it should have been a sell off situation. But like Alex, the way I put it before the break and what I had come to accept was this is one where you could probably look at it and you can move off of pieces and still be willing to be competitive. You're allowed to do that. You're not going to be bottom five. Okay, push for the playoffs, sure. You're not good enough to be bottom five. So, sure, be a team that competes for the playoffs, but don't do it by going and trading for guys. Get rid of the guys you have. I was okay with that. But to hear them say they were going to wait and see how this went scared the shit out of me. And to be honest with you, I think the best case scenario, not for me personally, because I hate fucking watching these games. That's miserable to just watch what we just watched tonight, Alex, and last night against Tampa. But the best case scenario was for Keith Pelly to have to see that with his own eyes and realize this is a fucking shit show. We can't do this anymore.
Yeah, no, exactly. I mean, it like you mentioned, like we just got to do something. Like I think the whole organization just needs to have a look in the mirror, basically, and be like, this hasn't worked so many years. We've brought in a little bit of different faces over the years, and that hasn't worked either. And I think there's just a whole like just the way they approach things is just terrible, and it's like frustrating, especially with these young players. Like you mentioned it earlier, like we're not giving these guys chances, and it's really coming to bite us in the butt. Like when it comes to it. Like I'm not gonna say this guy's a straight world beater, but as an example, like Pontus Holmberg, when he was in a Maple Leafs jersey, we were using him in weird situations. I'm not saying this guy would have saved the Maple Leaf season or anything, but like that's just an example. There's other guys, There's Mason Marchment. There's other guys, Trevor Moore. I guess we traded for a package at the time, but still, like look how effective he is in LA. Like there's a lot of these guys that I think the Leafs either give up on or just trade for packages for these old players that don't help the team even that long term. Like it's just like that short term fix, and it just is really unfortunate, right? Like, and then Fraser Minton's another one, right? But I'm not gonna, keep talking about him for the whole night or anything. It's just frustrating, and like, I want to see them actually make some trades that are, get me excited. Like, okay, I'm gonna see some young players start playing in the lineup, and we're gonna have a draft pick that we can actually go and either use for a trade to get someone better or actually draft the player that actually will excite me. You know what I mean? Like that's
Yep.
what I want to see. That's what I want to see. Like watching this every night and seeing like all I'm seeing is old players out there or older players. Like I would have loved to at least see Easton Cowan out there. I thought watching a younger guy like Nick Robertson, I thought out of some of the players on the ice, I thought he had a decent game. Not saying he played amazing, but like he was more noticeable than a lot of those guys out there on the forward group, which is sad. That's sad to say. And you
Yeah.
would think that people would say, "Oh, Nick Robertson's small. He can't do it against these physical teams." Well, he was just playing. Oh, I thought he played decent against the Florida Panthers. I'm not going to write home about it, but I'm just saying, like, people really like this narrative about these players, and it honestly kind of pisses me off because that's how players like we could lose a guy that might not be flourishing right now, but we don't give him the proper chance with the proper utilization with the proper coach, and it's really just frustrating. Like that's something that's really pissed me off, honestly. And we just get older, slower, like, and it's like we're not getting tougher. Like I don't understand it. Like all these things are so important, and it's like we try and take a step forward, but we take two or three steps back. It makes absolutely no sense every year, every single year.
Yep. And again, I mean, I said it, Alex, but I think part of it is this element of being scared. This element of like the unknown is scary, and it dates back to like when these guys first got here and the Shanaplan era. It's not just tree living, and maybe Dubas had handcuffs on. Maybe Shanahan had more involvement than we knew and we understood. And if that's the case, like I'm willing to give somewhat of an apology here to Kyle Dubas. I still think he's the guy at the forefront of it, and I think he made a lot of mistakes and tried to construct this thing and reinvent the wheel, and maybe he was far too ahead of his time. Maybe that style of hockey is something that'll win Stanley Cups in 15 years, but I don't think it was something that was going to win it 10 years ago. I don't think it even is something that wins Stanley Cups right now, i.e. the Florida Panthers, who just won back-to-back Stanley Cups, but they tried to do it that way. And then what we watched from that point on was, and when I talk about them being scared, is, the core. You wouldn't break up the core. It was always the core four. We believe in them. It was Shanahan sticking to the guys. It was Kyle Dubas, Alex, going out in public and saying, we can and we will. That quote will haunt me for the rest of my life. We can and we will. They refused to move pieces, and they made these commitments to these guys saying they're going to be the pieces no matter how many times we saw it not working. And, I know a lot of people here are trying to do the victory lap on the Marner thing, and I get it. He's not here and the team's in a fucking shit show right now, and it's very clear that they're missing some star power up front. But again, I pointed it out. I think it was, you had to move off him and bring somebody else in here, somebody with a different type of DNA, somebody who played the game differently than Mitch did, but was still going to be an upper echelon player. And they refused to do that, or were incapable of doing that. But, even if it's not Mitch, even if it was Willie back then, Alex, you needed to move one of the guys when you had control. You needed to move a piece to go out and get yourself somebody else who was going to be different than what you had. Because John Tavares, Austin Matthews, William Nylander, and Mitch Marner were all too similar. And I know people hear me say that guy's name and they're going to jump on it and say, hey, you're bringing up Marner again. That's not the intent of me saying this right now. The point was just, you had an abundance of the same kind of guy, and that's something a lot of other teams would have died to go out and get because they were missing that piece. You had a lot of it. You had enough of it. At that point, you needed to identify, hey, we got to make some type of trade that might be scary. Maybe we have to trade one of the stars, one of the studs, because we need that number one defenseman. We need that number one goaltender. We need two pieces who fit into our top six and not just the one guy who plays in this position. And they refused to do so. And that carried over into where you got with Brad Treliving. And that safeness was on display this year in the offseason. You watch what the team did last season. You watch them fall short. We watch all these other teams talk about how good the Leafs were, and I think they were that good last year. Some of it was obviously a little bit covered up by an incredible goaltending performance and having a lot of talent up front, but you needed to recognize that changes needed to be made again, and they just didn't do so. They tried to patchwork their way through this thing by picking up Michelli and Waugh and Joshua, and they said, hey, that'll be good enough. And while I like each of those players individually, just picking up the three of them and putting them into the lineup and then doing that wasn't good enough. And then to the back end, again, Alex, you said, hey, we like these guys. They were really good last year. No need to change our defense. Well, they all got older. The only guy who's defying, father time is Oliver Ekman-Larsson. And who knows how long you have left on that clock, because he could wake up tomorrow and turn into a pumpkin. He could. And I'm not saying that with any, disrespect towards Oliver Ekman-Larsson. I love the guy as a player. I love the guy as a person and as a competitor and as a voice in that room. But he's an old guy, Alex. And we looked at that core and said, nope, it's fine. This is what we want because we're scared to make any types of changes. And so all you ended up doing was getting rid of picks and prospects, and it put you in this position where now you are old, you are slow, you're going to be out of a playoff spot, and guess what? You got no fucking assets. It's time to change the approach and the way of thinking.
I couldn't agree anymore. I mean, you brought up the past, and yes, I 100% agree that they had to trade one of the guys. They should have. They didn't. All right. Hindsight's 2020. They didn't, and that sucks. And we have no assets. What do they have to do? They have to recoup some assets. They have guys that they can trade that are worth some assets. I'm not saying you're gonna get 4 first-round picks or anything, but you can get something good. Maybe you get a second or first-round pick for Bobby McMahon, or you get a second and a B level prospect that could turn into a middle six winger or something that could help your team. Not a prospect that's just, still in juniors or is like, very, very young, but someone that's maybe a little more developed, right? That's closer to getting into your lineup, like Boston did to a degree.
Even if it is a kid who's a junior level player, like this is when you have to. Sorry to cut you off. That
You're good.
This is when you have to rely on your junior scouts, your amateur scouts. Like, find the kid, man. Find the fucking kid. Find the kid that somebody else is looking at and is like, you know what? Like, this guy will be something, but we're competing now, so we got to move off the guy. And I'm not saying that this works this way or that this trade works for you, but, the Dallas Stars are in much more of a win now situation than building for the future. Maverick Bork is sitting there as a guy who's a young kid that they have. And I know he's a little bit closer than maybe somebody that we're talking about who's a young guy on an NHL team currently, but he's a guy who's not cracked the NHL full-time yet. Can you find a way to make a package for that type of guy? Again, let's be clear here, people. I'm not saying you get Maverick Bork. I'm not saying that. I want to make that abundantly clear. When I'm saying you find that type of guy. Okay, Edmonton, you really want Bobby McMahon? Fine. You can have Bobby McMahon and we'll retain salary, but we want one of, boom, Matt Savoy, Ike Howard. And then you start rolling down the list. Quinn Hudson. Maybe you start looking at those types of pieces and you start to have to pick those types of guys off. Maybe it is a kid who's in the OHL right now or in college hockey right now or in the WHL. I don't give a fuck what league he's playing in right now, but he's a guy who hasn't made his way into pro hockey in North America yet or playing in somebody's farm system, and you go and find that guy. Because those are the types of risks that you have to take here right now. Those are the kinds of forward-thinking moves that need to be taking place in this front office if you are going to be competitive with Austin Matthews and William Nylander still here.
Yeah, 100%. These next 8 days here will be very, very telling for the future of this organization. If they don't go ahead and trade off at least some of these guys, or like, I don't know how much they're going to trade off, but they need to. If they don't trade off some of these guys, especially the guys that have pretty good value, I'd look to move an OEL. I love OEL, as you mentioned earlier. I agree with everything you said about OEL. But if you can go get a first for OEL, hell yeah, you do that. 100% you do. And so McMahon, like I said, if you're going to get a second-round pick and a B-level prospect, why not? What do you have to lose? Your season's already in the dumps. You're not making the playoffs. And if you do, guess what you're going to do? Nothing. You're not. You're going on a Cinderella run. You're not going to do anything. What? Just because Craig Berube did it in 2019, you think you can do it? No. Get the hell out of here.
It ain't happening, man. Too late.
It's not happening. It's not happening. So these guys just got to, like, the organization, I'm telling you right now, they better get rid of, at the end of the season, Berube and I think Tree Living as well. Like, I can't. It's so frustrating. Like, it's not even about just, like, sure, it's not even just about the Minton trade. Sure, that sucks in hindsight. But if you can go out and maybe even trade Carlo and get something back, it is what it is, right? You take a loss, but you get something back and you get younger. Okay, whatever. You don't win every trade. You lose trades, right? Every GM loses trades, or most of the time they do, and that's normal.
No, every GM loses trades.
Like, you know what I mean?
Fair to say.
It's normal. Yeah. It's normal. So I'm not going to hold that against them. But if he does absolutely nothing, I'm going to hold that against them, because right now the faith, like, is he trying to save his job? I'd assume so. But if you're trying to save your job, I wonder what the hell the organization like Keith Pelly's telling him, because I don't really know what he respectfully knows, because I don't feel like he's a hockey mind at all. So I don't know, is it just Tree Living running the front, like the front office, or is he actually listening to other input of somebody else that's actually telling him, hey, you need to actually sell and we'll give you an opportunity to at least go into next season or something? I've got no idea. I'm just hoping I see some sells from the Leafs, and I'd be more inspired by that and seeing Easton Cowan playing instead of not playing for a whole month here, like, which is just ridiculous. Why the hell is he in the press box? Why? Yeah, I need to understand that. That's pissing me off to this moment, man. And I'm sorry I came in here just with guns blazing. It's just I'm frustrated, man. I'm genuinely frustrated.
No, you shouldn't be apologizing at all. Your frustration is valid, much like everyone else in the chat. And again, like, I want to make sure that this is clear. Like, this for me right now is not coming here and yelling and screaming about the team and the players and what I just saw on the ice and being pissed off like that was what I saw. Yes, I am pissed off that is what I saw, but this is a bigger issue at hand, Alex. Like, This is an issue of the construction that was made here and then the messaging that's coming from above. Even the letter from Keith Pelly that went out, which, by the way, it was pointed out, it wasn't even a letter to season ticket holders. It was an email that was strictly sent to season ticket holders who had just renewed. That's the only people that email was sent to. It was made clear on Twitter today. I think his name's Mike in Boston, and I think that's who it was who said it, and he put that out. And it's just like you put that out there, basically saying injuries were what led to this. No, it's not. Injuries were a piece of it, and I said this last night with Mike in Buffalo. Injuries were a piece of this, but you didn't set the team up for success to begin with. You started like shit, and then the injuries happened, and then Tanev went out, and then Matthews got hurt, and Nyes got hurt, and Nylander got hurt. It's like, it's scary right now, Alex, that it feels like the organization is heading back to the dark days. It feels like the incompetence that's taking place is starting at the top. It's not just having conversations right now about, I don't like what Kyle Dubas did. No, it's beyond that. We can say we don't like what Brad Treliving has done here with some things, but, Brendan Shanahan was here for the first 2 years of Brad Treliving. And based on the way things went with Kyle Dubas here, it seems like Brendan Shanahan had a lot of involvement in those moves and in those deals. I think obviously everything is done with like the intention of making the team better and trying to get them to win. But it seems like he had a significant piece in those. He was here for the Brad Treliving stuff. I can't help but wonder now if that Carlo deal was a lot in part because Brendan Shanahan was looking at it as his last year and his last kick at the can, and Marner at the end of his contract, and they decided, hey, we're going to go and we're going to take the swing for it. It's a big price. We'll just do it. But it's scary, man. It feels like this goes all the way up, even beyond Treliving, where financial decisions, roster decisions, everything is just going even beyond these guys, and there is a sense of like having to save the season. And Craig Berube, even looking at Easton Cowan, as you just got frustrated about, looking at Easton Cowan and being like, this isn't a kid who I think is going to help me win in this game tonight. He's going to sit out. It's short-sighted. And it's fucking this team over.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I'm seeing people and we talked about it earlier a little bit, just like about we talked about core four, and then people keep talking about Mitch Marner. Listen, if this guy was on the team this year, I could say maybe there's a chance maybe they make the playoffs in a stupid wild card spot. But guess what? That doesn't matter at all. It doesn't. What? You want to make the playoffs to completely get bounced in the first round? Maybe even whatever team we verse pulls out the broom because I think we're that bad. Like,
yeah.
Like what are we just getting excited for the playoffs? Yay, we made the playoffs. No, I want to watch this team win. Not just make the playoffs and get all excited about seeing us, just playing an extra 4 games maybe at this point, right? Like, it's just so stupid. Like, it was a whole culture thing. I feel like Treliving hit, like, what he wanted to do was get that culture out of there, and I feel like he's tried, but obviously it's a lot easier said than done, but that is what I think he was trying to do, and I think he just really tried to plug it in with big guys that are slow, and it obviously is not working, and it's just frustrating, like we said, so, yeah.
Yeah, no, I agree with you, man. And I think a lot of my frustration is just like the combination of watching that game and knowing that going into it or while this game was taking place, somebody at MLSE, whether it's Keith Pelly or someone sitting in the boardroom or whatever, somebody was sitting there being like, well, if we win this one, maybe we don't have to sell that much. That's fucking insane. That's insane.
Yeah. Unbelievable. Unbelievable if that's the thought process from them. Unbelievable.
Yeah. Anything else you want to get off your chest tonight, Alex?
The only other thing, because we actually, between me and you talking, I'm so shocked we haven't mentioned this guy's name once. Morgan Riley. What the hell was that? Like what the like the whole team, what the hell was that? But Morgan Riley with a bunch of exclamation points. What the hell was that? Like I just summed up a Maple Leaf season by him like doing that. Like oh my gosh, dude. They have to figure out a way to get rid of that guy cuz like
Yeah.
I don't know if he's like a disease to the team. Like oh my gosh, like that's a terrible word for me to use with that, but like I think he is. Like it's terrible. Like he's literally I think our fifth. I'd rather see Benoit play than him. Benoit showed more heart than Morgan Riley tonight. Morgan Riley's coughing up the puck like it was nothing. The fact he's still in the first power play is another joke. Like, I mean, if we're trying to tank, I guess sure, throw him on the first power play and let him throw muffins into the stands, like, I guess. But, like, oh, it's like, it's actually unbelievable. Like, I wonder what it is. Like, is it him overthinking things? Is it him just not having the ability to? I doubt. I want to put it, don't hold it against him, but I don't think it's his ability. I think it maybe he's just overthinking things and he's just he just can't do it anymore in the Leafs jersey. And maybe he goes to another team and he maybe does decent as maybe like a fourth or fifth defenseman. I don't know. I'm not writing home about him. I want him gone, so don't get that twisted with what I just said, but holy crap, man. That was just like I wanted to rip my eyes out of my head just watching that guy play tonight. It was terrible.
Yeah, good point by 6 1/3 here. He says that play was like AI troll shit, but it was real. It was. It was like and I'm not trying to do this to be political, but the AI video of Donald Trump playing hockey that keeps getting tweeted out by the US. That's
Yeah.
like that what that was like watching, whereas like legs were going sideways and he Bambi's on the ice and he falls down and he takes out Brandon Carlo and they're in on a 2-on-0 and they score. And it got called back because it was offside. Okay, sure. But again, like to 6 1/3's point, like that's the kind of shit you would have seen on Sunday morning where somebody was like, this is how the gold medal game winner is going to be decided. And they put out like some AI video of Cale Makar falling over and like tripping Connor McDavid and Austin Matthews goes in and scores. Like that's what that was. It's a bang on analogy by 6 1/3. It was a legit fucking AI slop video and it was real. And I said, Alex, like the other thing too about it is that it's the second time he's done it in the last month. There was an instance, I think it was about a month ago. I can't remember the exact game. Maybe someone could tell me, or I can check in my notes when the next caller jumps on here or something. But like there was an instance where he ran into Carlo on the wrong side of the ice, took out Carlo, and whoever it was that they were playing went in on an odd man and scored. And I'm like, I watched it happen tonight. And I'm like, I seen this shit before. I seen this before from the same fucking guy. And it's again, like it's amazing that it's happening. And I don't want to make it like a rip Morgan
Ripping him
Riley
apart, yeah.
just from the perspective of like him as a person. Like I'm not trying to like run him out of town. I hate the dude, get him the fuck out of here. That's not what I'm saying here. It's the level of play is not good enough, and I think a lot of it comes with what he was supposed to be and what his contract is right now and what he kind of represents to Leafs fans in terms of the baggage that he carries from ghosts of Maple Leafs pasts, where he was part of the 2013 loss. He's been a part of every loss that this team has had over the last 10 years of this group. And he's still here, still the guy who's, being played like a number one and just isn't a number one. I bet you he goes somewhere else. He plays second pair as the fourth guy, or he plays third pair. The Leafs eat salary, and he goes and he flourishes and he plays really well. I could see that happening, and I hope that happens for Morgan Riley's sake. But it's just not going to happen here in Toronto. It's not going to happen with the cap hit and with him being expected to be the number one guy. It's not, and that needs to be addressed this summer. It needs to be addressed.
Yeah, the fact you mentioned that, by the way, like it happening like not even a month ago is funny because literally we just had Olympic break. And the fact that we're remembering that so freshly, like happening not long ago, is a big concern. Let me just say, like that's crazy if you think about it, because we literally just had 3 weeks of being on Olympic break, right? No NHL games, and then we come back, and within 2 games, Morgan Riley's looking like him good old self. Like, I guess hey, him being back's great for us to tank. Let's just say that. I guess thanks, Morgan. Help us tank, buddy. I guess help us tank. Let's go get Verhoff, bro. Let's go get Verhoff. That's how we'll end this.
Well, William Nylander says, 24 minutes ago, this one is posted courtesy of TSN. I don't know what to say. It's their decision, and whatever they do, I'm still going to be trying my best every night in regards to what the Maple Leafs do at the trade deadline and if he's concerned. So Willie's in. He's okay with it, Alex.
He's always okay. He's always okay with it. Nothing phases
he's always
him.
okay. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, Alex. Anything else here? I got some more callers I want to get to here.
Honestly, I appreciate having me on, Zach. And guys, let's just hope for the tankathon here. Let's hope for the tankathon and hope for the sellathon, I guess. All of the above. Well, I'll talk to you again soon, Zach. I appreciate having me on and hope everybody in here has a great night.
Of course, buddy. I appreciate it. We'll talk soon, and you get some rest because we've got lots of Leafs to talk about. Getting to the trade deadline and then post-trade deadline.
All right, thanks, Zach. Have a good one.
Thanks, you too. There he is, Alex A. on the line. Appreciate that. From Alex, we got more callers to get to. We also got Super Chat line still open to people. If you want to get in your Super Chats, send those in. Proceeds from our Super Chats do go to Sick Kids Charity, ladies and gentlemen. It goes to an amazing cause. So get in those Super Chats going to Sick Kids Charity. Let's get to our next caller here on the line. I want to hear what this guy has to say. It's a new name that I've never seen before. Potentially same person or person that's called in before, but just under a rebrand. We'll find out in a moment, but let's hear from Slim. Slim, welcome to Leafs Nation After Dark.
What's up? What's up, everyone? No, I'm a new caller. Not even a Leafs fan. I'm just a casual hockey fan. I'm just gonna speak for all Leaf fans here.
Okay.
What the hell? Like, why do the Leafs always bring in these losers who have never won anything? Joe Thornton, Mark Giordano, Patrick Marleau. You know, what do these guys all have? Jason Spezza, what do they all have in common? They're losers. They're losers. Like Bill Sanderson said, losers. And yet we have Morgan Reilly, who is a seventh defenseman at best, coughing off the puck and choking like a dog. You know, and like, I mean, they're just all losers, man. I don't know what else to say. I just wanted to rant for the diehard Leaf fans out there because, I mean, just gotta call it how it is, man. Like, they don't have that level to them, man. It's been the same thing. They should have blown it up after that loss to the Panthers in 23 where they had a gift, really, to go to a deep run because Boston was out, the Rangers were out. They could have gone on a deep run. They blew it. So, I mean, at the end of the day, that's all I wanted to say. And, yeah, that's all. Pretty much it. Thank you.
Thank you, Slim. Appreciate the call. There you go. That was a good one. In and out, Slim on the line. Appreciate that. Look, I'll just riff off of what Slim Jim, as somebody says in the chat, as Slim said. You know, I think context of situations matter. The Marleau one, bringing the guy in general, I don't think was a problem, right? Like, you brought in a veteran to be here, to mentor the guys, to be around them, to help them learn how to be professionals, learn how to be NHL players, and kind of be a guy who can lend a helping hand to Matthews, to Marner, to Nylander in their early stages. Even some of the guys they had around, you know, I think like Kasperi Kapanen, Andreas Johansson, they were young guys who were here, part of that team. Even Zach Hyman was a little bit more raw at that point in time, and they brought those guys in to kind of help them, or a guy like Marleau in to help. I don't have an issue. The problem with the Marleau one more than anything was the contract that he was signed to, and then the discarding of that contract by Kyle Dubas, in which you gave up a first-round pick in a year that you technically didn't even make the playoffs. Like, you lost in the play-in to Columbus that year. You had the 16th overall pick. You traded it to get rid of Patrick Marleau, and the Carolina Hurricanes, who ended up getting rid of Patrick Marleau anyways, went out and drafted Seth Jarvis. And now we watch Seth Jarvis be an Olympian and be a guy that, like, I would die to have on the Maple Leafs. I'm not saying that they would have picked Seth Jarvis. Maybe they wouldn't have. I'm not saying they would have developed him and he would have worked out the same way here in Toronto. But yeah, I don't think that one was terrible. To the point about to Thornton and some of these other guys who were losers, I don't know, man. I think it's a little bit aggressive, like to an extent by Slim. You're not a winner until you've won. Like, if Alex Ovechkin becomes available, and I'm not comparing the context of the players, but, if Alex Ovechkin had become available before he won a Stanley Cup in free agency, are you not going to sign the guy because he hasn't won a cup and you're going to say he's a loser? You go and trade for pieces like Colorado trades for Nazem Kadri. He had never won anything. They went and traded for Brock Nelson. He had never won anything. You're not a winner until you've won. So I guess until that point, you're a loser. Ray Bourque didn't win until the very, very end of his career. I don't think anybody's looking at it being like, why'd you get Ray Bourque? This guy's a loser when Colorado acquired him. From the standpoint of being old and the wrong type of player to add because you didn't need that, sure, I'm willing to agree to that. I think saying these guys are losers is a little bit aggressive. One thing, though, that I will kind of agree with Slim on here a little bit is I always remember the video of the dressing room meeting between the leadership group and Sheldon Keefe. I always remember it. I think it was in the COVID year when they had the North Division, the Canadian Division. And Sheldon Keefe wasn't happy with the way the team was playing. Even though they were dominating the North Division, they were in first place. Like, they were just lighting it up. Power play was unreal. They were winning. Matthews was scoring every night. And they call a leadership meeting to talk about the way that they're playing. And I remember Jumbo Joe says in that, paraphrasing, but relax, we're in first place. That always rubbed me the wrong way. Always. Because just because you're in first place doesn't mean you're playing great hockey. Just because you're in first place doesn't mean you're playing a brand that is untouchable or non-improvable. I don't know what fucking word I'm supposed to use in that instance, so I said non-improvable. I don't know if that's even a word I can use. But it doesn't mean that. You can always get better. And you should always be looking to get better and make improvements and tinker and adjust and fix how you're playing. Get your power play from the best in the league to even better. Make your penalty kill even better. Tighten up in the D zone more. How can you improve every single day? And it always bothered me that he said that because it felt like that moment kind of encapsulated what we saw with this group the entire time. And again, I will relate this one in particular back to Marner of just the quotes that he said in particular. I'm not going to necessarily talk about play or anything, but he was the one we always saw after playoff losses go in front of the microphone and say, bounces didn't go our way, tried hard, thought we were there. That was it. And we would watch them in these like game sevens and blowing playoff leads and blowing single game leads and all that kind of stuff and just poor performances and whatever. And then you'd hear that and you're like, what the fuck? And I always thought about that Joe Thornton quote when I would hear that stuff and just be like, it's the same thing said differently. Oh, relax. We're in first place. You can still get better. You can still play better. Execute better. You know, it's not apples to apples on that comparison, but it was just always something that I always thought about was like, it's the same mindset. I think a lot of them carry that. I didn't mean to just single out Mitch, but he was the one who always was very vocal about it in the post-game press conferences after playoff losses. It was like a lack of accountability to an extent, and it was always him that I remember and just thinking about. That's a guy that you want to be the one to be saying this isn't good enough. Like, he's the guy you want, especially in a leadership meeting. If it's a big team context and he's going to be in there and being like, boys, like, it's all right. Like, we're in first place. Like, hey, we got to improve some stuff. Don't worry about it. Coach is pissed off, but like, hey, he's talking to the boys and saying, hey, it's all right. We'll fix these things. It's a different situation. You're in a leadership meeting. And I know that's just an instance caught on camera, but that's an instance where it could have been okay to be a little bit more critical. Yeah, we fucking suck at getting pucks up ice in transition. Yeah, we're not good enough at winning battles and getting pucks back. We're not good enough on the cycle. We could do these things better. I know we're in first place, but we could be in first place by more. We could win more games. We could be that much better. And instead it was just, relax, we're in first place. Your kind of attitude just carried through. Calamity of errors. Jay Rosehill. That guy's got away with words, man. A calamity of errors. You know, Vic, I don't mean to out him, but he says in our group tonight, what went wrong? How did we get here? And, you know, we can put a lot of blame on Brad Treliving for the moves that he's made over the last little while. And I think that a lot of it is fair criticism. I'm not trying to absolve him of it. Excuse me. But, you know, think about things that have gone wrong along the way and how we got here. Traded Nazem Kadri, protecting Hall and Kerfoot, exposing McMahon, choosing not to re-sign Zach Hyman, signing Kasperi Kapanen and Andreas Janssen to more expensive extensions, constantly rolling with Freddie Anderson, even though he constantly showed he wasn't the guy in the playoffs, trading Marchment for Dennis Malgin, not trading one of Marner and Nylander when they had control, giving into contract demands from all three of the kids, constantly expecting Morgan Riley to show up at some point as the number one, signing Riley to a contract with no moves and giving him $7.5 million, signing older defensemen, trading first round draft picks over and over and over again for players with no term, who ended up walking at the end. You know, we constantly talk about with this team the lack of skill, young guys, that kind of stuff. That stuff even happened before Treliving got here. Like, why do you think we have no influx of young guys? We have some of them. They're here sparingly, but it was first and second and third round draft picks traded over and over and over again. It's time to change this around. It's time to fix some of these things, and not by going out and getting patchwork pieces. If you're watching the show right now and you haven't already, hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel, Leafs Nation 401, right here on YouTube. We did fix the YouTube issues that we were having, so thank you to everybody who bared with us to this point in time. Thanks to everybody who stuck through all of the technical issues that we suffered early on in the show. You stuck through it for like 35 minutes, so I thank all of you. I'm not even just going to commend you. Like, that is unbelievable stuff from you guys, but to do that, I can't thank you guys enough to stick it out here. 400 viewers still, an hour and 30 minutes into this one. It's 11:15 p.m. Eastern time on Thursday night. Thank you guys for for watching, liking, subscribing, following along, and just being here. Luke says in the chat, you owe us salt, Zach. I know I owe you salt. I owe you 1 salt from last night because I hit 50. I owe you 2 for tonight because we're at 100. Again, as I said last night on the stream, I packed a bunch of my shit up. I am moving when I get home, so shit got packed away. I didn't have time this morning as I left my apartment at 7:15 to get out on the road to get all my gear ready to get out here to Brantford. Make sure you tune into Daily Face-Off. The Sheet live at 1 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. We had Spencer Hyman, general manager of the Brantford Bulldogs, on today. Spencer Hyman talking about the OHL, developing players, alumni. Tomorrow we will be at the Hall of Fame game here in Brantford, as well as they take on the Oshawa Generals. And tomorrow in person, we're going to have on Dave Pagnotta to talk about all things happening around the NHL. Duthie, play-by-play guy for the Brantford Bulldogs and director of communications for the Bulldogs as well. Got to meet Reed virtually over the last little while. Great guy, Reed is. So getting to meet him in person here today was pretty cool. So make sure to subscribe to the Daily Face-Off channel as well and check out the sheet. But yeah, I owe you guys salts. Those will come on Saturday. I will be back tomorrow night following the game, and Saturday morning I'll be able to dig through all my shit and find my salts so that I can do that before I move on Sunday morning. So hit that like button, subscribe here to the channel. I owe you guys salts, but thanks for bearing with us. Let's get to our next caller here of the night. Potentially last caller of the night, depends on what you guys want to do with this, but let's welcome to the program. Haven't heard from him in a while. Let's welcome on Prague. Prague, what's up?
What's going on, brother?
Well, my frustrations no longer lie. Well, I mean, they do, because I hated watching what I watched tonight, but my frustrations no longer lie in just what I see on the ice, because that sucked, but it's also coupled with Keith Pelly saying that it was just injuries that got them in this position at the start of the season.
Yeah, I don't really understand I love that letter. That was just, mwah. That was just pure Leaf, Rogers bullshit, pension plan, whatever fuckers they own the Leafs. They just care about making the money, right? It's just like when he said, "Oh, we don't care about selling jerseys," and he's selling a Marner's Golden Knights jerseys in the fucking game. I was there. I went to my nephew for his first game, and half that crowd, they're just too rich to fucking matter. Because the amount I spent on that game, right? It just. I was saying it in the chat that I went to the fourth game of Tampa Leafs at Tampa when they finally beat the Tampa and they came back from 4-1 down. Yes, I was third or fourth row from the back. It cost me $130 last minute US to go to game 4 in Tampa with my buddy each, right? And that's with secondhand market, all the extra prices. And they jack us in every which way. Everything costs an arm and a leg. And they just do the same thing over and over again. They try to fast forward the rebuild. Did we have a defense when we had Marner, Matthews, and Nylander as rookies? No. They try to trade away draft picks because we need truculence, grit, whatever the fuck they want to say. It's never been that issue. We never had a real plan. Shanahan did some good things with the alumni and everything else, but these players gave up on Berube very early. The only reason Matthews looked even Matthews-like was when they finally said, "Okay, we can't fire Berube, so we have to fire Savard, and so let's let Matthews play like he's not a fucking fourth line grinder, and let him pass, let him he's still literally." Playing more time in defense, getting more defensive zone draws than Barkov has ever had, than Bergeron ever had. There's no meritocracy in the Leafs. Shanahan should have been fired 5 years ago. There's been so many collapses. The reason you wonder about the like rehab staff is because they fired the best rehab guy in North America, apparently, supposedly, and he went to Dubas this past offseason. That's why this year has been a complete clusterfuck in terms of injuries. But our injuries are not even that bad. But the way you see him play, the team has basically been like that 10-game whatever streak. We're playing against, except for Jake Oettinger, we were playing against nobody. And even then, I was happy they were winning because I'm a Leaf fan. But was it really like we've never been really contenders. We've been pretenders. We've made it to the playoffs 8 times, made it to the play-ins, but like once. But like it's just over and over again because we know who's going to be a coach before they don't. Who did they interview outside of what's his face Brube? They didn't interview anybody. I'm just saying, like what you bringing up in terms of what they do. Like they try to fast forward the rebuild. They brought in Vesta Toskala, so instead of getting a higher pick, went back and being like second last. They traded for what's his face Kessel. That was great. We don't need a number one center or a right hand shot D that's 6'6" and can move the puck and still scores more points, despite being 3 years older than Riley. Like it's just like it's the same thing over and over again, and it doesn't matter because like everybody's just going to listen to the talking heads on TV saying, "Oh, this is what we need. This is what we need." Meanwhile, like no team that wins can afford what they did. Like that Sam Girard move. Why couldn't we be on? We have a player who can move the puck faster and is just as a dickhead as Brett Kulak, but has years on his thing. Why couldn't we get Sam Girard? Why couldn't we get Sam Girard plus everything? Like get Gavin Brindley, get like fucking Malinsky. Like it doesn't fucking matter. Like they're not doing anything. And it's not our like here's the thing. Yes, if we had a puck moving defenseman, let's say we had 2, 3 that were young, had energy, had something, our forwards would look a hell of a lot better. It's like whenever he was poo-pooing like trades for this or that, I'm like, we never gave anybody a chance. Do we know what Topi Nimula is? Do we know what Philip Kral is? Do we know what any of the fucking players are? Holmberg won the SHL MVP. Who wins the SHL MVP at 22 or 21? Shitty players? Untalented players? Or was he playing a role because we had fucking Conf playing third line? And he was given a role that he's fucking killing it. Did you see him yesterday? He got a penalty called on us, of course, because we're Toronto. And we're not doing like we have we have the biggest staff of everything, but we don't use our statistics because advanced stats with the eye test should teach you something. The whole reason is like Ottawa, the advanced stats say their forwards and defense are awesome, but their goalies are fucking them. It's fucking true. You can see that in the game. But so you look at advanced stats and the eye test, and I always combine them, right? But I'm just like, what are these people seeing? Because like Riley looks like a shell of himself, and they're playing like there was games last like in the last time we were talking, or even January, early February, whenever they finished, early February, that he was playing number 1 minutes. He's having a bad year. Play him less. Play him 6th. And even our like Berube is not only a dumb fucking coach. He doesn't know what he's doing. Because our worst defensive pairs always involve Riley, or when you put McCabe with Oliver Ekman-Larsson, or Ekman-Larsson on his right side with any of these assholes that we have playing.
In fairness, on the defensive side, the one thing I'll counter with is like who do you even fucking put with who at this point? Like, McCabe was playing well with Stetcher. Now all of a sudden McCabe has fallen off. McCabe's not playing that well.
Why do they?
Carlo was struggling with Morgan Riley. Tanev's out of this lineup. Simone Benoit can't play higher up in your lineup. You don't want him playing higher, tougher matchups for a long period of time. Like, it's just, I'm not trying to disagree with you here fully. Like, I've let you talk the whole time and let you go.
I
on
appreciate.
this
I
because
appreciate it.
I think that what you're saying like is pretty much
Sorry, I'm just frustrated.
accurate here. No, dude, you're good. The whole point of the show is you call in and get your frustrations out. I got no problem. I just want to jump in on this. And again, I'm not excusing this. So I don't want you to confuse this with that or the chat to confuse this with that. I'm just looking at this decor up and down the lineup. And when I say this, Prague, please also exclude Thrun and Villeneuve and Niemela and those kinds of guys from this conversation, because I'm with you on bringing them up, because I know that your solution in your brain, based on what we've talked about, will be, hey, those guys can play. I'm just
Well, we don't
exclude
know.
them.
We don't know.
No. But just exclude them. Just exclude them right now, just based on the conversation of the guys you have in the NHL. My only counterpoint to you of just giving the slightest excuse, and this then goes to the Brad Treliving side of things more so than Berube, which is where I'm going to push the issue uphill, is saying, who do you put with who? Like, Riley goes with Benoit, it's a nightmare. Riley goes with Stetcher, he ruins Stetcher's game. Riley goes with Carlo, he brings him down. McCabe's now fallen off a cliff. You don't have the Chris Tanev luxury. Stetcher has come back to earth, and I'm not trying to say he's playing poorly, but he's not the guy that he was when he first got here, and everyone was like enamored with him. He's still a very effective player that I still want in my lineup, but he's not at that same level. So you're just defensively, and my point on this is just, you just don't have guys. You don't have pieces.
No. Okay, so my first point is that I think the whole team has given up on Berube. They've hated, like, you see Matthews' face in the first half of the season until he was allowed to pass. Now, in terms of the defense, here's an idea. McKay played well with Stetcher. Why the fuck move it? We had one pair working. Then, okay, fine. Now, who else do we have? We have OEL, right? Why don't you play 7 defensemen? Give Riley the 6th or 7th spot so he gets his fucking brain out of his ass. Because, like, I can see, like, I love Riley. I love Riley. But ever since the Boston series, when him and Marner let Pasa walk right past them, his brain has been, like, short-circuited, right? Because no matter how bad he would play in the regular season, he always, until that play, he would always bring it in the playoffs. But ever since then, give him some time. Get him some fucking psychological help, sports psych. Get him fucking on something. Because, like, and if you give him less minutes, let him calibrate his brain, right? Okay, who do we have? We have Stetcher, OEL, and McCabe, and we have Carlo. Do you remember those 3 games where he didn't play at all? The last 3 games when we won right before the break?
Yes.
Our defense looked good, even though we were playing 2 shitty teams, and Edmonton, who didn't want to try because they didn't want to hurt themselves, because 3 or 4 of them were going to the Olympics. But, like, and
I don't
it
know
was
about that, but I think they're just not that great right now.
Oh no, but like, oh, that's just because they always they hired Stan Bowman before, and then hired Holland before, and they just run on whatever McDavid and Draisaitl can do. But anyways, but the thing is, okay, Carlo with OEL or Carlo with McCabe, I don't give a fuck. But what did Carlo say when when Riley took that injury or whatever time out right before the break? He said, I know what I need to do, and I just keep doing what I normally do. And Carlo looked good. If there's only, like, if we get a good enough deal, is there a defenseman I wouldn't trade? Fuck no. But like here's the thing. If Riley probably wants to go somewhere where he's less known, or at least gets less played. Maybe there's a smart fucking coach who knows what they're fucking doing. But okay, let's play him. Let's play 7 defensemen, right? Why are we playing Myers over any of the kids, and like Thrun or anybody? Like, what's the point? Why are we like? we have no pro scouting staff. Justin Sordiff was like, people were shocked that Capitals traded for him. He's already he's a right shot 3C, sometimes playing 2 wing, and he's doing well. Like by underlying, even if the Capitals are not playing well.
I don't think people were as shocked that the Capitals traded for him. I think they were more shocked that the Panthers traded him. But
Well, whatever. But the thing is, here's the thing: what is our professional development staff doing? We have the largest one in the league. What is our amateurs scouts doing? Because we draft all these players. How many do we actually give a fucking chance to? How many players that are on a different team right now were Leafs? Marchment? Oh, he sucked. He's not even, he's barely NHL replacement. Yeah, Columbus hates him, obviously, because he's scoring goals for them and whatever. He can't skate.
Who's saying he sucked though? Like,
No, but the thing is, our management.
I agree it was an error, but I'm just saying because you're saying
No.
he
But the thing
sucked.
is,
Who's saying that?
No, I'm not saying that. I'm mocking the team. I'm not saying anybody say it had sucked. But at the time, they were like, "Oh well, Malgin, he scored." I'm like, dude, what kind of professional scouting? What kind of management? We've had this for decades. Like all these players, like I can go back 30 years to Larry Murphy. It doesn't fucking matter. I'm saying recently, all these players that we let go. Holmberg, he's still doing well.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing. He's not getting a sniff of power play time. But he's playing whatever role he wants, and he's scoring. He's got nine or 10 goals, whatever the fuck, and he's doing it in similar minutes to what we were doing. But the thing is, my point is, we don't know how to like. We don't know what we need. We don't like. Our management doesn't have an idea, have a clue to what we need and what we're doing. Because why would they like? If we need a 3C, why don't we try one of the kids that we had? If we needed a right shot winger on the left side, well, Willie has a brother. We have also other players down there that are playing well, even if they're left shot. It doesn't fucking matter. Like, all these players that are doing well, they're all like, well, I know Boston's a horribly run organization. I know Tampa's a horribly run organization. I know Florida's a horribly run organization. But why do they want our players? Why do they want our draft picks? Why do they want our... Because they know what we have and we don't fucking know. Like, and then it's just every single thing from our drafting, our development, our asset management. Like, why would we trade? Like, it just boggles the mind if you think about every single time. I don't care if it's JFJ, John Ferguson Jr., right? I love, Ray Croft was amazing for us, obviously. But like, how many trades did he do? How about Berkey? What about Nonis? What about fucking Lou Lamoriello? Like, it's fucking annoying. I just want to know, like, if I, and then I hear all these talking heads right now. One of the things that pisses me off is like, oh, let's trade all these guys and then see what we can get with our draft picks. Fuck no! That's how we ended up in this place. That's how we have nobody coming up. Look at the fucking Florida Panthers. Half the team is injured, right? But, or Latvian, or fucking off the scrap heap. Sam Alinsky was a sign from the Colorado. Like, if you look at every fucking team, up or down, they have players. We couldn't afford to get Igor Chinnikov for a second-round pick. Why? Because we have no fucking picks. What team has the least picks in the next 2 drafts combined? Or this draft, or next draft, individually? The Leafs. You know who has more picks than us this year? Colorado has 9. Yes, they're in 4th, 5th, and 7th rounds. Still, you can trade up, or you can use them for something. Like, I know Colorado's a loser team. They've only won the cup a few times. They have shitty players.
So that would be though then doing what you're just saying though. Like, that would be counterintuitive to what you just said, because you just said you want to trade the way players to get assets, and then people here, and myself included, think you can use those assets and those picks to then go out and in turn bring back players if you're going to be retooling and getting yourself into a better position for next year and going and bringing in good players. Like that's what you can use those assets for. You don't have them right now. You just said that you shouldn't do that.
No, I'm not saying, like, the thing is, I don't trust these fuckers to do the right ones. Like, I'm going for players who have the skill. I'm looking at skill and drive who need a new place. Like here's an example. Vancouver's full of them, right? Marcus Pettersson, Elias Pettersson. They're on cheaper contracts. Fucking trade for them. I don't give a fuck if you trade Cowan for Elias Pettersson. Because why? He was 100-plus point center on the Vancouver Canucks.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be that again, but yeah.
We don't know. But the thing is, he's got burnt out because that management team over there and the ownership is shit. Actually, but they're better than ours because they've won 3 playoff rounds in the last 6 years. But actual playoff rounds. But and took Edmonton to actually Game 7 and barely lost, unlike us. But the thing is, why don't you we need a second line center. Austin number 1, Elias number 2.
Yeah, I wouldn't trade for Elias Pettersson, but
how about Shane Wright? They want to get rid of Shane Wright. I trade for fucking him. They need.
I wouldn't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem picking
the thing is, we could trade them OEL because they have 2 first picks this year, 2 first picks next year, and they have 2 firsts, 2 seconds next year, and 2 seconds this year. Fucking go. Just do it. They want a middle six. They want a middle 6 forward. Okay, do we have one? Do we have 2? Do we have 3? Yes. But I'm not going to trade. Here's players that I would not trade. I'm going to give you my list. Obviously, Matthews, Nylander, whatever. Joshua is just coming back from injury. I liked how he was playing before. Wah. We need young players, right? Otherwise, we're going to have to pay for him. Michelli's an RFA this year. He's 25. Robertson's 24. Fucking, if they're third line players or third or middle 6 or bottom, at least we have something, right? Or maybe put Michelli with, he looked good with Matthews the 2 games he played, but before Nylander came back, but something. They're skilled. Michelli is our second best transition guy. He's probably one of our best passers, Nylander than him. And I don't want to get rid of young players. We need a third line center. But defensively, I might consider keeping Carlo. I might consider keeping Matt McCabe if we don't get a good deal. But everybody else, fucking get rid.
It's kind of funny is that Brandon Carlo's also a guy. I haven't really said this yet, but he's a guy that I would consider keeping of all the defensemen.
He's 29 and he was injured. He has concussion.
I think if you put him with a better defenseman than who he's playing with, he's fine. He'll never live up to that trade, but trading him, you're never getting back what you gave up in that trade anyways. I don't know. He's the one guy I would consider, but again, if you're going to keep that, you need to change everyone else around him. All right, Prague.
Thank you. I want to thank you, Zach. And I'm glad that we're agreeing on some stuff, but listen, they need a middle 6. Even Chicago needs. They have lots of picks. They have 5 picks in the first 2 rounds this year. They need. Domi could go back.
The thing I would say though, the thing I would say is I think you need to rely on amateur and pro scouting to come through for you here, and I think that's why Mark Leach was brought in from Dallas to do this. Is you need to identify on some of these other teams, some of the young kids that are coming through. I don't know who they are personally, but it's not my job to be an amateur scout, so I don't know the same way. But, you just brought up Chicago, probably a good team to look at if they're going to be looking to take a step next season. If you've got guys who are under contracts, then maybe you can move some pieces off. The Detroit Red Wings are a team I think you look to make moves with because they're loaded in their prospect pool. It doesn't have to be picks, right? I don't know how high end the prospects that you would get moved in those deals could be, but you just paid a first and Fraser Minton for Brandon Carlo last year. what if some team gets horny and they want Bobby McMahon, or they want Ekman Larson, or they want, Jake McCabe? I'm not saying that you get a high-end prospect for each one of those guys individually, but again, get creative, package something together, retain salary, find a way, and then you bring in those guys, Prague, and you reload your cupboards more immediately than you would even if it's just picks. Because if I go out and I get a second-round pick right now, Prague, I have to go and draft the right guy, which, you hope that your scouting staff is going to be capable of doing, but I now have to go and do that. And then I probably have to wait. Your second round pick, it's how it works in the NHL for like 99% of second round picks. You have to wait a little bit. Maybe you can go and get a guy who was a second round pick, but he can make the NHL next year. Maybe you get a guy who was a second round pick and he can join the Marlies for the rest of this season, or he's in the AHL right now, and then he's going to be ready to break through. Those are the kinds of guys you need to identify. That's the approach I would take. And Chicago is probably a good team to bring up in there. I don't know if that fits perfectly, because I think they're probably not as horny to trade for the kinds of guys that the Maple Leafs have. I think they would be a team who would look to add, but like, you talk about some of the age and the expiring deals here in Toronto. I don't know if that would be the right fit going that way, but like Detroit, yeah, for sure. That would be a team I would go for.
And the one thing I'd say is this year people are paying a high price for everything. Like Sherwood.
They're going to. Not everybody's selling.
Sherwood, I'm not even sure Sherwood's playing tonight with San Jose, and he's been injured he's been injured since December, and they paid 2 seconds, and Sherwood doesn't have the pedigree there. Yeah, he hits and he's right shot, whatever. But McMahon's incredibly fast. He's got 220-goal seasons. And last season, people were like, oh, why is it? His first full season was last year. It's a fucking 82-game season. People get tired. That's why people burn out. And then the second season, you get used to it. Third season. And you know what? Trade these guys. And if they want to come back, I love Stetcher. He's the type of person I want back. 100%. But I want to trade him
for me.
Yeah, same. I love Lawton, but trade him. Mm-hmm. And remember, he just had a baby like a year and a half ago. His father-in-law passed away this past year, or a year and a half ago, around the time he got his baby, just after. And they're all from freaking Oakville, and his wife's from Mississauga. Okay, and he wants to stay here. He wants to raise his family here. And the wife doesn't like what's going on in the U.S. That's what they've said in that they had an interview. And it was really cute. It was very adorable. But like trade him, see what he says. And listen, if you want to give him the Yanni Gourde treatment where you give him 7 years at $2-3 million, fucking go. I don't care. Why the fuck do I care? Like, they're do whatever you need to do. But thank you so much, Zach. We all appreciate you for everything you've done. And even though we have huge disagreements, we fight like brothers, like guys that in a hockey game. We'll have beers later. Like, that's the thing. But we love the same team. We love hockey, and I appreciate you. You're an awesome guy. All the best.
Thank you, Prague. Appreciate the kind words and appreciate you calling in here tonight. Look forward to having another call with you soon. Thank you, Prague. We have another caller on the line. He's been waiting here for a while, so I'm going to get to him in a moment. Excuse me. Sorry, just before I do, just quickly, want to do some housekeeping stuff here on the show tonight. First of all, let's get to our best bet segment. Our best bet, as always, is a presentation of Bet365. Whatever your bet is, it's never ordinary. At Bet365, use promo code NATION. That's NATION. Promo code NATION. NATION. Must be 19 or older. Ontario only. Please play responsibly. If you or someone who knows gambling problem, visit connectsontario.ca. Look, let's just come clean on this one. I didn't have a game preview today. I thought I was going to be able to get to my computer at some point before the game and get a video up and get that thing posted before today's game. As everybody knows, I'm traveling here right now. I'm out in Brantford. We're here courtesy of the Brantford Bulldogs. It was an unbelievable day today. Got to meet Spencer Hyman and the behind-the-scenes team here for the Brantford Bulldogs. Everybody was just unbelievable in helping us set up and get our stuff ready and all set for our show, and then the videos that we did. We've got a video series that's coming out with a lot of the players and the coach of the Brantford Bulldogs, so that'll be coming up over the next little while here on the Daily Faceoff channel. But I'm out in Brantford doing that. Obviously, responsibilities grow outside of just hosting the After Dark show. So live production of Jeff's show and then doing video recordings and stuff for sit-down interviews. It's awesome stuff, but I got caught up and wasn't able to get to the game preview here today. Didn't get back to the hotel until like 6 o'clock, and by the time I had set my stuff up, the game was pretty much dropping. Puck was dropping in the game. So again, sorry to everybody for that, but I didn't have a best bet. If you were to bet on the Florida Panthers here tonight, I'm certain I didn't look, so I'm not going to try to make anything up, but certainly would have been pretty big favorites. That would have cashed for you. This is one of those ones where I wouldn't have even touched the Leafs at all unless they were above plus 200, and then I would have considered it, but I just wouldn't have jumped in. I will be honest, if I were to look anyway for goal scorer here tonight, it probably would have been somebody along the lines of like Nylander or a Matthews, so that would have lost, so didn't bet tonight. Ended up being John Tavares with the lone goal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. That's the betting segment for today. Again, apologies. Quickly here, we got some super chats that have come in over the last phone call just before we get to our next caller here on the line. These super chats come in thanks to Michael, so let's start there, and Brandon McMillan. So start with Michael. Michael says, Zach, are you okay? Trade 34 to the Sharks or Kings for 2 first-round picks and a prospect because 1 is a fragile back, 2, Leafs making playoffs is slim next year. Well, first of all, I would say if the trade is right, yeah, like you have to consider trading these guys if that's going to be the case, but it's also dependent on like, does he want to be here? What is the future of the organization? What does MLSE want? Like, I don't want to run Austin Matthews out of town. I don't. I love the player. The way that his teammates spoke about him, whether it was his commitment to his craft, his leadership, his dedication, like he just captained Team USA to the first gold medal in the Olympics in 46 years. And nobody on the team or in the U.S. organization batted an eye. You know, I think very highly of Colby Cohen and Johnny Lazarus. And I was listening to Morning Cup of Hockey after, and they interviewed James Van Riemsdyk. And, you know, even Colby has kind of changed his tune on him a little bit there, just given what he's heard players say. And he's a former NHL player and professional hockey player himself. And, you know, hearing those guys kind of talk about it and kind of realize, okay, you know what? If these guys are giving him the respect, then maybe I should too. Then I see what he can do if he's playing with adequate line mates, which I don't think he is right now. And if you open up the game and play a little bit more productive style, a little bit more offensively inclined style, he's a very, very, very impactful player. And at his age and, his commitment to the city, I would love to keep him. And the other point that is brought up here and is a very, very, very good point that comes in from Word Nerd, so I just need to lean in to read that. Players like 34 and 88 also attract talent. That's the other thing. Do you want talent here in the next couple of years? Like, do you think that this team can win? Do you think that this team can win or be competitive again, I guess I should say, next year and the year after that and the year after that? Well, I guess the next year and the year after that, because Matthews has 2 more years left on his contract. If you think they can and you think you can get back and you're not just grasping at straws, but you genuinely believe and there's a plan in place to do so, you keep those guys because otherwise you're not going to attract players the same way. Like, how many guys did the Leafs sign in free agency over the last 9 years that would say, you know, the opportunity to play with Austin Matthews and William Nylander and Mitch Marner when he was here was very, very enticing to them. You know, whether it was veterans, if it was guys who were younger players or whatever, like that you were signing in free agency, they bring players in, and that's the reality. You know, if somebody calls you up and says, you know, if the New York Rangers have a top 5 pick this year and they call you up and say they're willing to give it to you and they'll give you picks and prospects for it, and one of them is going to include the first round pick this year, okay, yeah, like you listen, you're not just shutting things down to that, but when you do that, you're entering a full rebuild, and sometimes it takes a lot longer. Like, look at Chicago. They got Connor Bedard, and it hasn't just automatically turned around for them. The San Jose Sharks went and got Macklin Celebrini. He's obviously accelerated the rebuild. Mike Greer has made some really good moves around them, but they also started that by going and getting excuse me, sorry. They started that by getting Will Smith and Dickinson and Misa and Askarov, the goaltender. Like, they've got the pieces in place, and then went and got Macklin Celebrini, and, you know, he's like the second coming of Sidney Crosby. There's no guarantee that Gavin McKenna is that, and you bring him here, you don't have young players around him, essentially, other than like Ben Danford, who's coming through, who we expect, you know, Stephen Ellis talks about it all the time, could be like a number 4 defenseman, which is great. You want that guy. You don't want to just give up on those pieces. Like, drafting and developing those players to come in and fill those roles is very, very important, but he's not coming in here to be, you know, the next Cale Makar, and that's where we have to set expectations. So, what is the direction of the organization? Are you rebuilding or are you retooling? And I personally don't want to run Matthews out of town. I still think you can win with the guy. I just think you needed to make better decisions around him, and you haven't yet. So it's time to make those decisions. Also, excuse me. Sorry, a lot of talking. Throat has been killing me a bit. I'm going to get to the next caller in a second. I'm sorry, Dale. I know you're waiting online. Michael also says 2 first-round picks and a prospect. You're an idiot if you think that's what you're getting, and that's it. You're trading Austin Matthews at 29 years old, the captain of your team, the guy who captained Team USA, guy who scored 69 goals 2 years ago and has shown in the last 2 months of hockey here, he still very much has 50-plus goal scorer in him. You think you're trading that guy for 2 firsts and a prospect and calling it a day? Like, you're getting a fucking haul, or you're not doing it at all. That's the reality. Like, you are going big or you're fucking doing nothing. So no, I'm not trading him for 2 firsts and a prospect. Final super chat here before I get to Dale. Brandon McMillan says, wonder if Nyes is looking at the standings now. Yeah, I mean, you would hope that there's at least some situational awareness when it comes to the standings at this point in time. Let's get to Dale. He's been waiting for a long time. I'm excited to hear what Dale has to say here on the postgame. So welcome to Leafs Nation After Dark, Dale.
Zach, what's up, brother?
What's up, Dale? Sorry for making you wait for so long. I appreciate the patience.
No, all good, dude. You know what? Listen, I listen to your post-game stuff all the time. Tonight was the first time I decided to call in. And you know what? Look, man, I won't keep you that long either. I know you've been going at it for a long time here. So
it's
I'm
all
just
good.
I'm going to run over a few things that I think are valid, and you might agree with some of them. You might disagree with some of them. It's all good, man. But coming out of the break, coming out of the Olympic break, like, can you think of talk about 2 sad performances back to back? Like, I guess I shouldn't have expected anything else, but like, come on, man. Your season's on the line. It was probably already over to begin with, being 6 points out, but that game against Tampa last night, the game against Florida tonight, just it's gutless, man. It's heartless, and I'm not surprised. I'm not surprised that's what we got, but anyway.
Yeah. I mean, I'll just say to that, like, you know, you talk about the intensity that was needed. Even if us as fans were expecting or thinking or wanting them to sell, you know, the players in the room should want to win. If they're in there being like, nah, fuck it, like, let's tank. You've got something wrong going on. And they didn't play that way. Like, it was an ultimate letdown for what we thought was going to happen. At least, you know, you're expecting them to come out playing like their hair's on fire, and they didn't, man. They didn't at all. It was a very disappointing effort. Like, we can talk about the coaching decisions and the management and the roster construction all we want, and it's all very, very valid. I've done it for 2 hours here to this point talking about those guys, but the players on the ice didn't show up with any type of intensity over the last 2 games either. The urgency was not there. The execution was not there. It was pathetic, honestly. That's the word I would use.
Other than Matthews, of course, other than Matthews, Nylander, and Ekman-Larsson, the rest of these jokers all had 3 weeks off. What's the excuse? What's the excuse? There's no excuse. There's no excuse. But I'm going to just fire off a few things and, like, chime in whenever you want, dude. Like, the letter that Pelly put out, okay? I got to throw this out here. Like, blaming it on injuries. Okay, like, did they have an injury-riddled season? Like, yes, you can say that. But to just pin it on that, in my opinion, it's the wrong. It's completely the wrong take. The GM has not built a good hockey team, and their coach can't or won't make adjustments. And to me, it's just Easton Cowan hasn't played a hockey game in a month. And like, you can't find a spot for that kid when you go down this entire lineup, and I'd take almost any one of them out to like at least get like it makes no sense to me. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, period, on that one. But I'll keep going, and just whenever you want to chime in. But the body language on the bench, and it's so like just the losing mentality around this group of guys, man. And why does nobody get pissed off when they're not winning? You're getting your asses handed to you 5-1, whatever, 3-0 at the end of the first. Maybe that would have been a time to do. Well, maybe just show up on time to begin with, but 3-0 at the end of the first, and you're getting your asses handed to you. And like, does anybody look like they really give a shit? Like, how about someone like throw a vicious fucking hit, take a suspension? I don't care. I'm not saying do something dirty, but just like be involved. Show that you like care as much as the fans do. Does that not frustrate the hell out of you, man? Because it does me. I watch other teams. I watch the Bruins. I watch other teams. When they're losing and it's not going well, somebody does something in those games to be like, okay, well, we're not going away quietly here. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, 100%. And the one thing too here where like I think I've grown to accept it, and I wish it wasn't the case because I wish he would step up and do it once in a while, but it's just obviously not in his DNA. And again, maybe this is just my own personal coping mechanism, and it's like I'm grasping at straws. It's entirely possible, but I've come to accept Matthews isn't the guy who's going to stand up and yell. He's just going to continue to work hard, do the right things, play the right way. That's it. He's just going to play like Austin Matthews, and that's how he leads. But it's infuriating that there's no one else there who's going to be the guy who stands up and yells at everybody, even on the bench. You know, like the point about the physicality and doing something on the ice aside, because I agree with that fully 100%, but even just the bench stuff is something that makes my brain explode sometimes. Like, I want to see these guys, you know, I'm not talking about like melting down and tearing each other apart, but you know, you want to look on the bench and not just see sad faces. Like, I see a lot of sad faces, and it's not just this year. It's playoffs year in and year out. Game 7, things aren't going your way. You can't find the back of the net. Camera cut to the bench, and everybody's like, got the pouty face on the bench. Their hands are over the boards. They've got all slouched over. And it's like, what the fuck is going on? Why isn't there somebody there? Why can't there be that voice in the room who says, let's fucking go. Let's get up on our feet. Let's fucking go. And, you know, I think that's part of why it's frustrating to me that he's a guy you might have to move on from because he can get the assets. But it's like Scott Lawton, I think, is a guy who brings that, and he can be a part of this. But you want a guy further up in your lineup.
And Zach, and he's buried on the fourth line all year.
He should be playing on the third line. He should be playing third line center. I heard the point. It was made by Cameron Gaunce the other day. He was on a show. I think it was the last night after their game. He brought up Waugh and Lawton. It's redundant. You don't need Waugh and Lawton. You need one of the two to play in the third line role, play 15 minutes a night, play their style of hockey, be that kind of like leader is the wrong word for it, but like leader of the charge is the guy that you want doing it.
Zach, I think Lawton is a leader. He's just a natural leader. But yes. Berube buries him on the fourth line every night. It doesn't make any sense. It's never made any sense. Like, it just doesn't make any sense, man.
No, you're right. But, and then to the point about being like on the ice, the thing that drives me nuts too in that is, and it goes back to the point about what I was saying about trading one of Marner or Nylander earlier. Like, you were never going to trade Austin Matthews. You brought in John Tavares, so you were never going to trade him either. So let's just say those two guys are out of the equation. It was between Marner and Nylander. I always felt, and still to this day feel, that you just built the team way too similar. The 4 guys that you had at the top were all too similar. And
they're all the same. They're all the
same. And I think you needed to go out and trade one of those guys for a guy to come in here and be a different kind of high-end player. And what I mean by that is, look at Colorado. You've got your Cale Makar, who keeps his mouth shut, never says anything, his face never changes, nothing. That's fine. That can be like your not player comparison in terms of what they do on the ice, but your leadership in terms of Austin Matthews. There's your quiet guy. He says nothing, he plays his game, and that's how he leads. But then you've got Nathan McKinnon, who will stick his stick down your throat and pull it out your ass if he's pissed at you for not playing the right way. They just didn't have that guy. They don't have that guy on this roster, and they always rolled out over and over Marner, Matthews, Nylander, and Tavares, and they're all guys who just keep to themselves, never say shit about anything, and just keep it moving. They didn't have that guy, and McKinnon will go out on the ice, and he'll lose his mind on somebody. McDavid will lose his mind on somebody. Is he going to go fight? Is he going to run through somebody through the boards and kill them? No, he's not, but he's going to exercise his frustration on the ice as well. Draisaitl will do that. You just didn't have those guys here in this room.
Okay, Zach, I'm going to say this to you. I'm not sure where you're going to go on this. I'm not sure if we're going to be on the same page on this or not, but
okay.
I believe this is not a retool. This is not a retool situation. This is a drop a bomb on this thing. This is a drop a bomb on this thing big time. Two playoff series wins, Zach, in 9 years. Come on, man. What are we talking about here? Is it about sneaking in and trying to win a round, or do we want to win a Stanley Cup? Can we win a cup with the current leaders of this hockey team? I don't believe they can. I take Rosehill's take. I don't think he believes it either. I've seen enough. I've seen all I've needed to see in the last 9 years, that we are never going to be led to a championship by the current leaders on this hockey team. Agree or disagree?
Okay. Cannot fully disagree. Let me attack this in two parts. Let's start with you talking about dropping the bomb and these guys not being and doing the rebuild and rather than a retool. And I will give my thoughts on that part quickly and before the leadership, and I guess they'll tie in, okay? So whether it's a rebuild or a retool is also very much dependent on what is available in the summer. And I'm not talking about who's available in free agency. I'm not talking about Alex Tuck and Darren Radish and Nick Schmaltz, because that, to your point, is tinker around the edges, get in the playoffs, lose in the first round. Thanks for coming. See you later. I'm talking about, do you go nuclear in another way and you're trading and what you do at this deadline and you're moving off and overhauling the defense and you're overhauling a top six outside of Matthews and Nylander? Because I think that, to your point, would be, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that would be the dropping a bomb. Those are the big guys that would go, right?
I'm saying that the leadership that they currently have will never lead them to where they want to be.
So then what I will add in here would kind of go back to the last one and tie into that, and talking about what you're saying and what we're saying about the frustration and the emotion is, can you bring somebody in here who's got a different perspective, who can help and be some kind of difference maker? If you can make a trade for somebody like that and bring them in to bolster the leadership that you have with Matthews and Nylander, I think it's a very different situation. But that's where I have a hesitation, a significant hesitation, where I start to agree with you more and say, that guy's not out there. He's not out there. Who is it that you're trading for this summer that you can go and get that comes in here and he's a fucking dog and he plays top 6 minutes and he contributes? I don't know that guy's out there. If you go and you jig this thing and you get assets back and you get draft picks and stuff, maybe that guy becomes more available than we realize at this point. But I do, I can't argue against you, Dale. I can't argue against you because 9 years has showed us this. But I wonder if you know what? Here would be my example of something that would make me view this differently. And it's one guy in particular, and maybe there's another version of him out there somewhere else, but it's the Robert Thomas type of trade. If you can acquire a Robert Thomas, I don't think you have to blow this thing up and rebuild, because I think that's the kind of guy who comes in here at 26 years old with like 6 years left on his deal, 5 years left on his deal at a good number. He plays second line. He would be, if it wasn't for the Gong Show happening in St. Louis, probably the next captain of the Blues. He's won at every level. He's won a Stanley Cup. He would be in consideration for the Canadian Olympic roster if he wasn't injured this season. And the Blues are trading him.
But hang on 1 second, Zach. I have a lot of time for Thomas, but he is absolutely injury prone every single season.
That is a very fair pushback. Very fair. But again, to my point,
I would take him in a second.
That's the guy I do.
I would take him in a second. Obviously, I would. But just the injuries, I hear what you're saying.
No, but you're making a very good point. Like, he is injury prone. It is a scary thing. But all I'm saying is, like, that's the only kind of guy that I could see being out there this summer that you just say, fuck it, we're sacking up and we're making this trade. We're swinging. Easton Cowan, buddy, I'm sorry, you're going to have to go. Danford, if that's the case, you're going to have to go, because Robert Thomas is a guy who changes the way your team looks immediately, and you put him into this group with Austin Matthews, with William Nylander, you're drastically changing things. Push John Tavares to a third-line center role, like your team, even a fourth-line center, play Lawton at third line if you keep him. The thing looks very different, and that's the kind of guy who does change things. But again, it's one player. So it's enough, to your point, you're bang on. It's one player I'm bringing.
No, and that's like your assessment is fair on Thomas, but all of a sudden when he only plays 40 or 45 games, then it's not going to matter.
You're right.
It's not going to matter.
You're right.
So look, man. Okay, I'll just couple quick things, and I'll let you go. I know you've been going forever here, but I guess I'll say, like, look, just on Berube and on Tree Living, like, I guess it's gonna be, well, not I guess, like, Berube's gonna be, or sorry, Tree Living's gonna be at the helm on March 6th, like, making deals. Like, you have to sell. It's got to be a sell. There's no other way to do this. But I'm just terrified that they are going to absolutely botch this thing, man. Like, thinking that they can win next season. Like, I think they're going to botch this trade deadline. I truly believe it. Like, I hope they do the right thing and sell off the assets that they can to get whatever they can get back, whether it's draft capital or player personnel, whatever the case may be. But I'm just absolutely terrified that Tree Living is going to botch this, and they're going to just think, well, like, his boss, Pelly, put out, like, I opened with the call saying his boss, Pelly, put out a letter basically blaming it on injuries. Look, it's not injuries. The team isn't very good. Like, if people just open their eyes and take their rose-colored glasses off, this team is not a contender anymore. I believe this era is over. It's over. People can want to fantasize about, like, 34 led the the men's U.S. team to Olympic gold medal. Well, did he really? He was the captain of that team, but without Hellebuck in net, they don't stand a fucking chance against Canada in that hockey game. So I know he was the captain, but did he really lead them to the gold medal? I don't see it that way. Is he ever going to lead the Leafs to a Stanley Cup? I don't see it that way. So for me, this era is over. I'm terrified Tree's going to botch this entire fucking thing, thinking that they are still good enough to contend next year when they're not. I don't know, Zach, fair or unfair?
Fair. I'm also scared about this deadline. I've been scared all the way along about the comments. The only thing that would give me any type of solace is if they've just been doing this to up values of players. What I mean by that is, like, you're telling everybody publicly, we believe in these guys. We think we'll be back next year. We don't want to trade them. We want to re-sign McMahon, yada, yada, yada. And then somebody calls you and they're like, we really want that player. What is it going to take? And then it ups the value. If that's the case, masterful. Applause to Tree Living. But I'm scared that that's not the case, given the history of him here in Toronto, and even beyond him, just the organization as a whole. Brad Tree Living has lost a lot of trades since he's come to Toronto. And you know what? Probably in his history as an NHL GM here as well, looking down the trade trees that he's put together, he's lost a lot of them. And this isn't a time for making equal trades. This isn't the time for losing one marginally. This is the time for hitting fucking home runs, man. Like the Boston Bruins traded Brandon Carlo. I bet you they didn't expect to hit a home run the way that they did. Like they probably thought they were hitting a triple and they fucking mashed a grand slam. So you need to hit home runs. You need to get those kinds of players. And I don't know if it's getting a first and Fraser Minton back, but you got to start to try to piece together things like that because you can't lose this, and it scares the shit out of me that they're going to botch this deadline as well. Because even if the best thing to do is rebuild, that's entirely possible. But even if your goal is to retool, you still need to win these things. Like if you lose, you're just setting yourself up for failure for years to come. If you win these trades and you try to retool for next year, it may not work next year, but you'll at least have some type of foundation set up for the years after that. And then next year it doesn't work. Then you can trade Matthews because he'll have 1 year left on his deal. Then you can look at trading Nylander and whatever else pieces you need to trade that are old and expiring. But if you just fuck this up and you lose trade after trade with McMahon, OEL, Domi, Michelli, whatever, or you don't even lose them, but you just decide not to trade the guys and then it doesn't work out. Yeah, this organization will be in for Game of Thrones winter is coming and it could last fucking 9 years. It could be winter is coming here in Toronto and it could be 20 goddamn years if that's the case.
Big time. All right, Zach, thanks very much, dude. I appreciate listening to you as well as Nick and Rosie. I think you guys do a great job over there. And yeah, man, hey, guess what? You only got 24 games left, and then it's all she wrote, brother.
Yeah. Well, thank you, Dale. I appreciate the kind words. Are you Dale from the Tip In podcast?
Yes, sir, I am.
Oh, there you go.
Yes,
Shout out.
Sir,
let the people know where you can find that.
Well, Zach, you just said it. Go ahead, brother. Yeah, I do a podcast. It's called the Tip In Maple Leafs podcast with my buddy Chad, and we don't do it as regular as you do. But did you just assume that it was me, or did you think it sounded like me? Or
I've seen your stuff. I've seen your stuff,
it.
and then I've heard your when you called in. I heard your voice, and then like 2 minutes ago, somebody in the chat said, "Is this Dale from the Tip In?" And I was like, okay, that's kind of who I thought it was, and so I figured I might as well ask. Yeah,
it is, brother.
Well, keep up the good work, Dale. I appreciate you calling in here tonight, and look forward to seeing more of your stuff, and look forward to hearing from you in the future. Don't be a stranger. Call back anytime.
I definitely will, Zach. Thank you, sir. Have a good night, man.
Thank you, Dale. You too. There you go, Dale. First call here on the program, and it was a good one. I think everybody in the chat enjoyed that one as well. We're going to have two things here to wrap up the game tonight, wrap up the post-game show. So let's start here with the play of the game for tonight. Send your play of the game in the chat. I want to know what you guys think about this one. Play of the game for me. I'm sorry, I got to do this, but play of the game for me, play of the game for me is Morgan Rielly falling into Brandon Carlo. That is a perfect encapsulation of this game, this season, the premature weebaculation, all of it. Like that Morgan Rielly fall and crash into Brandon Carlo is so poetic for how insane this season has been, for how bad this season has been, for like, we're close, oh no, it fell off a cliff, this season has been. Like, the Leafs were given gifts over the last little while. The last couple games, even. But, like, before the break, you beat Edmonton. You went on a 3-game win streak. Season wasn't over. I said with Reach and Dan Riccio, and I said it with Alberga, and I said it on different shows and to people, and, like, it's not because I think the team is good enough, but I kept saying, like, this stupid team, they'll just find a way to like come out of the break and rattle off 15 wins in a row. Like, that's how dumb this team is, you know? Not because like I actually believe they're good enough to do that. I just, it's what they do. Like, they're the Maple Leafs. Like, they're dumb. It happens. But it's like you get close. Brandon Carlo starts playing well again. Nosedive. His D partner crashes into him, and they're in on like a half 2-on-0 with a back checker. You're like, what the fuck? What are we doing? That's the play of the game. Before we get to the grade, I want to do one thing quickly here. Let's go to the Tankathon. Maple Leafs currently sitting with the 11th best odds to get the first overall pick. Let's sim the lottery. They do not move up. The Boston Bruins keep their pick and pick 11th overall. Thank you to Tankathon. Let's get out of here with the grade of the game. Final thing. It's a complete failure. Failure. F. If the goal is tank this thing out and show Keith Pelly and MLSE that you need to lose and you're trying to get yourself in position here to get coaches fired and GMs fired and start again next year, A+. But in terms of actual execution and the fact that they were trying to win, F. Full-blown F. That is my grade. Thank you to everybody who called in here tonight. Dale, Alex A, Slim, Prague. Thank you guys for the calls here on this one. I appreciate it as always. That'll do it for me here tonight on the postgame. I will be back on Saturday, back downtown Toronto to break this thing down. For those of you who are interested in content beyond just the Toronto Maple Leafs, make sure to check out The Sheet tomorrow at 1 o'clock Eastern Time, live from Brantford here at the TD Civic Center from the Brantford Bulldogs Arena. Jeff Merrick, David Pagnotta talking about all things coming up here at the trade deadline. I'm certain the Leafs will be involved in that conversation. And then Reed Duthie will be joining at 1:30 Eastern Time, the play-by-play broadcaster and the director of communications for the Brantford Bulldogs. Tune into that game tomorrow because I've been told, so it's the Hall of Fame game. They're going to be doing a ceremony on the ice. I've been told Reed Duthie will be doing the on-ice presentation and then has 30 seconds from the end of the presentation to get his ass up into the press box and do play-by-play for the game. But Reed will be joining Jeff on the show at 1:30 Eastern Time. So subscribe to the Daily Faceoff channel. Make sure to be there at 1 o'clock Eastern Time tomorrow. I will be back on Saturday for a full preview and breakdown of the Maple Leafs game number 60 of the regular season as they take on the Ottawa Senators on Saturday night. Thanks to everybody who watched, liked, commented, subscribed. I'll see you guys on Saturday. This has been game number 59 of the Toronto Maple Leafs regular season, dropping this one to the Florida Panthers, second of a back-to-back, 0-2 since returning from the Olympic break, losing this one 5-1. Thank you guys for watching. See you Saturday. Keep believing. For more content just like this, including game previews, post-game live shows, Leafs Morning Take, Monday through Friday with Nick Alberga and Jay Rosehill with special guests, as well as instant reaction videos, make sure to be subscribed here to the Leafs Nation YouTube channel.